Hi, welcome to our podcast, Just One More Page.
Where it's never just one more page.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to our channel, and I am Morgan.
And I am Sam.
So today we're going to talk about our second part of Woven Kingdom. But before we get into this, Sam, how's your day going? Have you done anything fun?
My day is fantastic. I am at the bougiest hotel I've ever stayed at in my entire life. Side note, did not pay for it. And I was just at the pool working on my tan. And now here we are recording. So I'm living my best life right now. So it's fantastic.
Yeah, I'm really jealous. Like, I called you from work, or I texted you from work, and I was like, hey, like, I'm ready to record whenever. And you're like, I'm at the pool. And I'm like, I'm in at work, like, dealing with these customers, and you're sitting by a pool. I am so jealous. I honestly wish I was by a pool. I mean, it's nice outside. I just don't like going outside, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
But today we are going to be talking about the second part of Woven Kingdom. If you haven't checked out the first part, then you should check it out because we talk about a lot of good things. But this is the second part to it. If you are curious about what Woven Kingdom is about, it's about this girl who is a jinn, which is kind of like a genie. And she's a servant girl named Eliza. And she is the jinn queen, long lost queen. And she happens to get entangled with the crown prince, whose whole, like, I guess royal family hates the jinn, and things just get kind of complicated from there. And in our last episode, we made some theories, and I think we were kind of right.
There was a couple points where I was like, I was right. I was right about that too. But like, I was right, but also wrong at the same. Like, I had some of the details there, but I didn't hit the whole picture.
Yeah.
Like the snake piece, I think I was pretty right about, but when we get to the spoilery part, I'll talk more about it.
Do you have anything non-spoiler to say, or what was your like non-spoiler review of this book? Did you like it? Do you want to read the second book? What was your overall thought?
My overall thought is I rated this about 3.5 stars. I felt like it had some really good moments in it, and I won't sit there and tear this whole book down and be like, it was the worst book I ever read. It really wasn't. But I definitely feel like the bad outweighed the good in this book. The dialogue was weird. The way the characters acted around each other was very odd. There was a lot of like, oh my god moments, but like at the same time it was just like, oh my god, I don't know what I'm reading. I had to go back and reread pieces. I was getting lost at some points, and I was like, where'd this character come from? So I don't know. Overall 3.5 stars. Am I gonna read the next book? I don't know. We'll see how I feel when it comes out, if I feel like I want to read it or not. It's not on my like list of next books I want to read.
I kind of feel the same way because, like, I don't know. I thought that you may like it a little bit more than I would like it because I'm not a fantasy reader. I think I said that in the last episode too, where I don't read fancy books. I guess I enjoyed it for what it was. And although, like, I was itching to finish the book just so I could pick up another book I was currently reading. And I was like, how many pages do I have left in this book? I just want to finish it. Because I was like telling myself, I was like, I have to finish this book before I pick up another book. And I was like, I kept looking at the book I wanted to read while reading this book, being like, I'm going to get to you soon, I promise. But
just wait for me.
I don't, but like, I felt like this book had, it just like, it was taking on a huge story, like to deal with like the whole mythology, like everything that goes with that. I feel like it's hard to do a book like that.
The book I think it should have been longer, which sounds terrible, but I feel like the book should have been longer to have more time to flesh this world out, because I feel like we were in like the same 4 places, which I mean, there's nothing wrong with having the same 4 scenes over and over again and just kind of getting the familiarity, but because this world is so big, I felt like we weren't getting enough of the picture. We were kind of following so closely with Cameron and Eliza through this whole thing that they weren't seeing enough to tell us more about the world.
Mm-hmm. I do kind of wish that they built more into the romance instead of it just being like, hey, I saw you and I love you already. And like, I get it. There are some romances like that, but I don't like when characters are like, they look at someone right away and they don't even know their names and they're like, I will throw everything away for you. And I just felt like that was really kind of cringy. And also, I don't like it when like characters, main characters, are just like fighting machines and they like assassins for no reason. Like there's no backstory to it. There's nothing. They're just like have the skills of a ninja for some reason.
Well, they kind of explained it because she said that her parents trained her when she was a kid how to do this. They were preparing her, like her parents already knew who she was. She already knew who she was because her parents had explained it to her. Like she had already had like training up to that point. That's why she spoke the way she spoke and she held herself the way she did was because of her parents. Fighting skills didn't just come out of nowhere. She just didn't use them very often. And then the fact that she's Jin and she's stronger than the average human kind of makes up for the fact that like the humans were coming after her and she was able the clay were coming after her and she was able to like fight them and stuff.
I don't know. It just felt kind of random sometimes where she's like, I will kill everyone. I don't know. And it didn't really feel like she had any guilt. Not guilt. I guess she didn't. It didn't feel to me like she didn't feel bad for anything that she was doing. But I get that she's being hunted down, so I get why she feels the way she feels. But the last thing I'll say before we get into the spoiler thing is, although I didn't fully enjoy this book as much as I thought I would, I do want to say that this author did an amazing job at writing twists that happened in this book, because there were multiple times in which I was like, what is happening? And I like gasped. And I feel like that is a really good skill to have, because some writers like they do too much foreshadowing, or they just like don't do it well enough. The way that the Arthur wrote it, like after reading the parts that were the twist, I was like, oh, that makes sense. I don't know. I loved it. But like, I don't know. I don't think I want to read the second book. I appreciate what she was doing. I think that if you do like fantasy, you probably would love this book. But for me personally, I think that it was just too much world building. I feel like I was lost constantly, and I also felt very bored, but I did like how the book ended. So, yeah. Anything else you want to add to the spoiler part, Sam?
Uh nope, let's get into talking about what happened, what was going on, what our thoughts were, like our real thoughts. If you haven't read the second half of the book and you make it past this part, you spoiled yourself and I'm not sorry for it. If you have read the book and you keep on going, yeah, come on, follow along. And then come to our social medias and let's all talk about it, because I want to talk about this book with other people too. So yeah, so spoilery section in 3, 2, 1. Alright, if you're still here, you did it to yourself. Alright, Hazan. Hazan.
Okay, you want to talk about Hazan first?
Hazan.
My poor baby, my poor cinnamon roll.
You know what? Twists come out sometimes that I don't see coming, and or like a lot of times I'll see the twist coming, or I kind of had like an inkling, or like that piece made sense, but Hazan just came out of nowhere. I was not, I wasn't expecting it, and then when I kind of replayed some of the scenes from the beginning of the book, of like Hazan just showing up while Cameron was watching her, and he's kind of just like always there finding Cameron around her. I'm like, that makes so much more sense now. He wasn't watching out for Cameron, he was watching out for Eliza the whole time. But like up until that point, you're just like, oh, he's just the prince's minister, and he's just a pain in the butt and whatnot. And I was like, that's super interesting. And like I had said before, like there's more Jin around Eliza than she thought. But I was just like, chapter 23, Morgan, chapter 23.
I know. I did this thing where I was reading and I looked down real quick and I saw that his name, like that he said his name to her. And I was like, what? And then I had to quickly read the paragraph and be like, what is happening? I also like the fact that he's the owner of the Firefly. The thing in Jin culture is that the Firefly is like, it's like kind of like a dog, I guess, in some ways for Jin. They're their loyal companions, and I like the fact that Hazan's Firefly does not listen to him and just kind of goes after her because he's like, the Firefly loves Eliza. But I also felt very annoyed at Eliza for not shutting her mouth, okay? Because at the end of it, not only does she like rat Hazan out to the flipping king of Toulon. Like, she's like, oh, you're working with Hazan and like getting me out. She also tells the prince too. And I'm just like, why? Like, Hazan is literally just trying to help you out because like from the goodness of his heart because you're his people. And then you go behind his back. I'm sure she didn't mean it. I don't think she meant it. But like, I was pulling out my hair.
Well, so I get the king of Toulon. First of all, she didn't know the king of Toulon was the king of Toulon. Like, let's give her that much credit, because this person was just showing up and he was like, "We have a mutual friend." Well, the only person that she knows right now who's helping her that would be a mutual friend is Hazan. Because up until us finding out that the mutual friend was the devil, like the only person left was I was thinking it was Hazan too. And then when he said it was the devil, I was like, that makes more sense. But how the heck was Hazan supposed to know that Eliza was going to go to the apothecary, and how the heck was she supposed to? Hazan was supposed to know that Eliza was going to show up at Huda's house again. Like, the only person who was going to know that was the devil. But like, if I was in her shoes, I would think the same thing too. And if someone came up to me and was like, "We have a friend in common," and I only have one other friend, then I'm going to say that's the person. Now, her letting the cat out of the bag with the king was a little stupid.
Like, Hazan had one plan of getting her out, I think. Like, he had one plan. And then the king of Toulon, Cyrus, he had a completely other plan. So I feel like there were two different plans going on, and they both did not realize. But I was just so mad. And then, like, also the fact that Hazan got arrested at the end of the book, so it makes me wonder what's actually going to happen to him. This is another thing I didn't like about this book, is that Hazan and the crown prince Cameron grew up together. They're supposed to have like this friendship, but they don't. They have like, I don't get a friendship from them. Yeah, they do banter back and forth, but like, it doesn't really feel like to me that Cameron cares about this guy that is not his friend. So when it's revealed that Hazan kind of betrayed Cameron, it doesn't hurt. It doesn't feel like, you don't feel that betrayal. I think it would have been more of a betrayal if throughout the whole book they were really close. But like, honestly, the chemistry, I don't know if you felt the same way. The chemistry in this book was just weird. It was just off.
Between everybody, the chemistry was weird. I didn't feel much chemistry between Eliza and Cameron. Actually, weirdly enough, I felt a lot of chemistry between Hazan and Eliza. But I think it was like a kinship chemistry. Like, he's come to help her. He had more of an explanation. In that short period of time, I felt like their connection was written better than every other connection in the book. Cameron's relationship with his mother was weird. And first of all, we only saw her in the beginning and the end of the book. We didn't see her anywhere in between. Yet she's supposed to constantly be trying to kill him. Why? I don't know. She's crazy. The relationship between Cameron and his grandfather, King Zal, you could tell that like the grandfather was hard on him because he cared.
But there was also this random moment where King Zal tried to arrest the crown prince for treason.
Well, and the king was like, you can defend yourself and tell us like why you didn't commit the crimes that you committed or supposedly committed, but he wasn't telling him what he was being accused of. It's like, how do I defend myself against something I don't even know what I'm being accused of doing?
Yeah. Well, so he says to him, "I offer you the single meeting during which you may attempt to exonerate yourself. If you fail to argue your own innocence in a timely manner, I will order the guards to shackle you without delay. If you insist on fighting this sentence for so horrendous a crime, you will be forced upon yourself the full punishment of treason and await your execution at sunrise, at which time you will die an honorable death by sword and a location yet to be determined, your head severed from your body, impaled on a pike for 7 days and 7 nights for all the empire to bear witness." And this is his grandfather that's supposed to love him.
Yeah.
Like, the fact that he's so hard on him about going along with Eliza makes me wonder if maybe the whole thing about like the prophecy is that maybe it has to do with him falling in love with her, and that's why the grandfather is so adamant about having the ball and about having all this stuff and having him get married to someone who's not Lisa. But the fact that like you find out later that the whole poem in the beginning of the book about the snakes was actually about the king, and the king made a deal with the devil.
I was right. I was right. He made a deal with the devil. I was like, freaking knew it. I didn't expect the snakes to actually be real.
The Tulian king, basically, he has magic too. I want to talk about that too, his magic. But he basically like cuts up Zal's coat or jacket, and he shows his snakes. And I felt like there was going to be more of a battle with the king and the Tulian prince, but reality, the king was like, yeah, these are my snakes. I'm just take me out, please. I don't care. And I was like, I thought there was gonna be a fight, but there wasn't. And also the fact that it was revealed that King Zal, the snakes on his shoulders, ate like young kids' brains, and that's the reason why Omi stabbed himself, because he knew that if he didn't kill himself, he would get eaten by a snake. So like the first half of this book, I was like, why is this boy trying to kill himself for no reason? Now I understand, because I would do the same thing.
All the diviners are dead. What purpose that's gonna serve is probably not till the next book, but I was like, what is going on, man?
Who do you think did it?
I think it was the Tulian King.
I think it was Hazan.
I think Hazan killed all the diviners.
I don't know. I get a feeling.
I really feel like I probably just should read the second book for the sake of both of us so I can tell you. But I really feel like it was the Tulian King because nobody really knew what he looked like, so he could probably get around pretty easily, but his magic was very strong. How are you going to kill all the diviners who are supposed to have magic unless you have magic yourself?
That's true. But also, on top of that, I don't know if he killed them. Like, if he did kill them, did he kill them so the kingdom will be weak, you think? I guess that makes sense if he does. I don't know. I feel like I thought Hazan killed him just because, like, Hazan was just acting like when the boy came to the palace to tell Cameron about the deaths of the diviners. Hazan was acting so weird. He's like, "Oh no, like you go to your chambers, I'll deal with this boy, or like I'll tell the boy to meet there." Like it seemed like Hazan was like freaking out to me. Like he was panicky, and which makes me believe that maybe he knew something more than he was letting off because of the fact that he was like trying so hard and desperately to make this boy not go talk to the prince.
Right. Well, I mean, the only thing I can think of is because Hazan gave Omid the second invitation. Hazan's been trying to keep Eliza away from Cameron because he's trying to get her out of Ardunia and into Tulian or wherever he was trying to take her. And Omid's like really the only connection that the prince has to Eliza besides Hazan. So, I mean, maybe he was like, oh no, if he finds out that Eliza's coming to the ball tonight, then he's not going to do his duty to find a new bride. Like, that's kind of how I felt he was going to be doing it with, but I don't know.
I honestly don't know. I don't know. The whole thing was just kind of weird about him freaking out. I don't know. Because I'm reading more into things now because I'm like, I know how the Arthur is now. Like, I see all your tricks and turns, and now I'm suspicious about everything.
Don't be suspicious. Don't be suspicious.
Now I'm going to have that stuck in my head all day.
TikTok. I know, you're going to be walking around the hall being like, don't be suspicious. Don't be suspicious. Yeah, because you're home alone right now, so.
I am home alone. I'm all by myself.
You can sneak around the walls and be weird.
I can definitely do that. It's so nice to have the house to myself and so quiet. It's so nice. I love it. I love it. But the one thing I do want to ask you about is what did you feel about the romance in this book? Because this is marketed as a fantasy romance novel.
If there was more to the prophecy, like Cameron was destined to fall in love with her, and there was clearly supposed to be this like undeniable connection between them, even though they weren't speaking, I would be a little more okay with it. But it just kind of happened, and she was gonna slit his throat with a pair of scissors, and then next thing you know, they're like half about to do it in her room, and then they're being all like flirty with each other. I'm like, how did you go from nearly killing it? Like, I've read enemies to lovers, okay, but the burn is a little slower to get to the lovey-dovey part, not just like I'll slit your throat if you don't tell the truth. To now we're like half doing it in my room. Like what? I don't know how it happened. It just happened, and I felt like the dialogue too kind of went too long. Like it just felt like they were talking in circles the whole time. Like nothing was actually like actively happening in the conversation. They were just talking, and then just like stuff happened. You know, it. I don't know. It just didn't feel. It didn't feel earned, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, but like I didn't like the romance at all. I felt like it was so weird. I felt like there was no like chemistry between the two, and it felt like there was no building up to it. If anything, it felt like the prince was like obsessed with her, and she didn't feel the same way. She's like, I don't care about you. It just like, I don't know, I didn't like it. And like I read a lot of romance novels, and it just wasn't it. I would have much rather the writers spend more time on creating friendships or like bonds between the characters than just the characters like being thrown together for romance. Did you have any favorite characters?
I ended up liking Hazad a lot more than I thought I was going to.
Mm-hmm.
I felt bad for Miss Huda, especially when we got more of her backstory. And I mean, if I'm talking about the main characters, I kind of cared more for Eliza than I did Cameron. But that was about it. Other than that, like, I don't know. I just really didn't have too much of an investment in this book.
Yeah, I felt the same way. The characters I obviously liked was I liked the little boy because he was very spunky, and I like how he talks back to the crown prince. I did like Huda or Huda. I don't know. I like that she like was one of the background characters during like the first book, but then towards the end of the book, I ended up really liking her because of her like I don't know, her personality. And also, is she dramatic? Yes. Did she throw herself a pity party all the time, especially when she was getting dressed by Eliza? Yes. Do I love that? Yes. Did I love the part where she was like being kidnapped and she was like, "Well, I got like, is it gonna be cold? Is it gonna be rainy?" Like,
You know what? I felt like she was you.
she was me. I felt the same way.
Yeah, because you'd be like, I'm being kidnapped, but what am I supposed to pack? How many days are we talking about? Is it gonna rain? Do I need my coat?
Do I need to bring a dress? Are we going out to eat? Like, I don't know. I hope that in the second book, if she is in the second book, I hope that she becomes a really good friend to Lisa. I don't know if she will be or not, but I do find her hilarious, especially since she was trying to beat the king up with not King Zell, but King Cyrus.
The Tulian King.
Yeah, trying to like beat him up with like a candle. She's like, I'm not going back with you. And I was like, oh, I like your spunk. Even though I do at times felt like she was really annoying, but I absolutely loved her. But the last thing I want to talk about, and this is the one thing I want to ask you about, is the marks all the royals get. Because there's a reveal that everyone in the family, when they're born, like royals are born, they get like a birthmark. And for Cameron, he has like a gold leaf. King Zal had a star on his neck, and his father had a black branchy lines all over his back and up his torso. And I wonder if you think this is going to tie him to the second book in any way. Like the birthmarks are going to come up.
I'm sure they are because Eliza is marked by her eyes to be the rightful ruler of Tulian. And so it makes sense that the succession of rulers in Ardunia are also marked as well. They said they were marked by the diviners as the rightful people to take over the throne next. I'm sure. I really don't feel like Mafi puts in details that aren't useful later on. So I'm sure they're going to come up as being something important and they probably mean something too.
I don't know. I can't like I feel like it's gonna foreshadow something. I just don't know what. And I tried Googling like what it means about like the star and like a gold leaf and I couldn't really find anything. And like I couldn't find anything that really went along with the story. So I'm interested to see how it all tied up. But what are your final thoughts about this book?
I went in with a lot more higher expectations than I came out with. I'm glad it at least added to my reading goal. But that's about it. As far as like being excited for the next book, I'm not really excited about it. So I might pick it up depending on how I feel just because there's a lot of unanswered questions, but it's not something I'm going to feel like I need to read next. And like I said before, I rate this like 3.5 stars. I'm not going to like tear it down. It had some really good moments, but overall, it's not. Had I read this on my own, I would have DNF'd it before I even got halfway through.
I wouldn't even picked it up because I don't read fantasy. I would have looked at the book and been like, "This is a beautiful cover," and then I would have been like, but it's fantasy. Never mind." For me, I rated it 3 stars, and I rated that just because, like, I don't know. I feel bad for rating it because I know that, like, I looking at Goodreads, so many people love this book series, and I can understand why, especially if you love fantasy and you love like instant connection love interest. But for me, it wasn't it. Like I understand where the writer was trying to go with the story and like but me personally I just didn't like it. And the characters, like I said before, I lacked chemistry and like I said before, Hazan and Cameron had grown up together, but they don't act close at all. And I just feel that to be kind of weird. And the only banter that I actually seemed to enjoy was when the characters were teasing each other or when they were like quick jabs at each other, if that makes sense. Like their banter was going back and forth. I like that. But a lot of times it just like I don't know, it just didn't flow very well. I also personally felt like nothing happened in this book. I mean, this book's almost 500 pages long, and there's two different points of view, and I still feel like nothing happened. I will say that the ending of the book about her falling off the dragon, I love that. I love how it ended. Will I pick up the second book? Probably not. Will I probably read people's reviews and figure out what happens in the book and look up on Wikipedia? Probably yes. Or I'll just ask Sam and be like, read this book for me, please.
Tell me what happened because I need to know what goes on with Omid.
Yes, I need to know what happens to Miss Huda, cause like she's me. I need to know. But yeah, that's our review and talking of this Woven Kingdom. If you guys are curious, we are going to be reading Message Not Found, which is by Dante Medma. I should have looked how to say that name. I apologize. But this is a contemporary young adult mystery thriller book. It's about a girl who has just lost her best friend due to an accident. In order to help her grieve with the loss, she decides to create a chatbot. And using the chatbot, she adds messages and emails that she has from her friends to be able to basically create a AI that's of her friend. But soon she realizes that the bot is like dropping hints about her friend's accident, and there's something more to her death. This is like I said before, a thriller mystery book, and I don't know, I'm excited to read it. It looks really cool. It's brand new. I think this is this author's debut novel. And I also heard, because the book's not out yet currently, I heard that a lot of it's text messages.
Ooh, that's interesting.
Yeah, it's gonna be like text messages and emails, like formatted. So that's gonna be really cool to see.
So it's probably going to be a really quick read then, because like half the page is going to be taken up by like what am I trying to think of? Like design. It's not going to be text. Like because I've read books where they do like the text messages and stuff, but like the page is like looks like a phone with the text messages being read, and like the page looks like the email itself, so it takes up a lot of space. So this will probably be a super quick read.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think it's gonna be super quick. I'm excited to read it because the cover looks absolutely beautiful, and I think like the last thriller book we read was what Horror Store.
Yep.
So I'm excited to read it and check it out. If you guys are curious, we do have some socials. We have a TikTok, which is called Just One More Page podcast. We also have a Instagram, which is called Just One More Page Official. Also a YouTube channel. If you just look up Just One More Page, you can find our YouTube channel. We also have a Facebook group that you can join. Please join it. And I think that's it, right, Sam?
Yeah, I think that's all for our socials. So yeah, come, because you can't really talk to us on the podcast, but you can come talk to us there, and we love interaction. We love talking to people. So come discuss, tell us your opinions, whether you agree or disagree with us, and we could talk more on there. And yeah, thank you for listening to the podcast.
Yeah.
All right,
Thank you.
bye.
We'll see you next week.